Welcome to the Pile of Salt podcast, where we talk about a bunch of different stuff. My name is Hank. With me, as always, Ben.
Yo, that's me.
Yo.
It's a big pile. It's a big pile this time.
I mean, it's been a while since we did a non-Godzilla podcast.
That's true. But also, like, all this stuff is stuff I've done in, like, the last week and a half.
Oh, well. Not for me, but
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I went on that content binge.
You got hungry.
I did.
You had to devour.
You know what? There's even a thing that I didn't put in my list that I want to talk about a tiny bit. Ongoing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, I put one of these things on here so long ago, I don't know what to say about it. Other than it's good.
Well, I think we should start with the thing that we both are talking about.
Sure. So we both read, because I told you to read it, because it's not that long.
Excuse you. Hold on. I asked.
What?
I said, I asked if you had any short stuff that you wanted me to do up, because I was in the mood
That's
to
true.
Consume.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
You did initiate. give you the credit. And I just happened to have bought this.
Yeah.
So, Mujirushi, The Sign of Dreams, which is a manga by Naoki Urasawa, who is possibly my favorite living comics creator. Like, I think that's just true.
Okay.
Not because of this story, because of his three other big, long works that I've read of his previously. Mm-hmm. But this is... I don't know what you thought of it. This was pretty good. It's like, it's lighthearted heist tale.
It took all of my willpower to not do to this manga what you did to Log Horizon. I saw the not Donald Trump mask, and I
didn't know that was coming.
It literally took,
having not read this,
all of my willpower, all of my fucking willpower, and then they like kept going with it. All my willpower.
Uh-huh.
We stayed in there, but just coming at an inopportune time as someone who has had too many political talks in like the last 24 hours. The 36 hours. Like that just it was so like I mean I that annoyed the shit out of me, but looking past that, it was fine. It was good. I almost like I wanted more, I guess. Like it took me a while to get there, because this is 9 chapters, and I probably was, I mean, even more than like halfway through before it started to settle in for some reason. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, but by the end, like I really enjoyed that, and then I wished I would have had more of like the enjoyable, like not the enjoyable section, but like I wanted to experience more time with it after I got settled in,
Well, let me tell you, Ben, his other works.
Yeah. How long is Monster again?
18 volumes.
Yeah, that's a lot of volume.
18 times the size of this, basically.
Yeah.
Pluto is like 8. But that's the one I actually want to do. So.
Like Monster is like grim as hell, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Like at least this was it was like sweet.
This is light. Yeah, that's the other thing. This is a lighthearted story, and it's not that long. It's weird. It's like I don't know if it exists because he wanted to draw the Louvre. Because that's like a big thing. Is like he got to the one thing I know about it is that Urasawa got to like visit the back rooms of the Louvre so that he could draw them accurately for this. So like there are parts of this where characters go to parts of the Louvre that aren't accessible by the public, and he like actually physically went there.
I brought it up on
got let in.
Yeah, I brought it up on Wikipedia just to as usual. So in case I want to reference something, it says he was approached by the Louvre. Like they came to him. So I mean, like,
interesting.
You said he was good, but apparently he's good. Fucking
that makes sense.
People coming to you and being like, do a thing, make our museum get robbed.
Hell yeah.
Pretty good.
I mean, the other thing about this is that the character in it, Fujio, or no, Yami, the like dude with the teeth. He's obsessed with France. He's from a classic, older comedy manga, Osumatsu. Okay. Like, just that character is just a classic older Japanese manga character.
Yeah.
From like, and like that archetype shows up a lot, but that is like literally that character instead.
Mm-hmm.
From like a manga from that started in the 60s.
Interesting.
So that's like the other thing about it is like having that historical character randomly show up in this story.
Okay.
And then there's fake female Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Beverly Duncan.
Dude, the wiki, I think this is an actual quote on Wikipedia, but like I don't like how it's presented. He also said there is a presidential candidate in the series who looks very similar to then President of the United States, Donald Trump. Quote, for some strange reason, but I have no intention. That's not really how I wrote it. They make it just, in this presentation, it makes it sound like it's like serious, like it's all coincidence, but it's like clearly fucking not. So like, I'm sure he was being sarcastic, but that is not conveyed in this Wikipedia article. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whatever, but you know.
I mean, it's well. His longest series I've read, 20th Century Boys, is about like a fascist cult leader that takes over the world and ruins the world. So,
okay. Yeah.
He does have like thoughts about that stuff for sure. This is like just weird that that's in this story. Yeah, it definitely dates it.
Yep. Well, and at first I had to check afterwards, like when this came out, because I was like, because this is like obviously like looking at it, it's Trump was president like in the first couple of years there, but
yeah,
it feels like it's still like during his candidacy or during his campaign.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like it came out in 2017. You figure he was working on it.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just those fucking masks. Yeah. It's what a wild thing. I also took me like, God, that the I guess by the end it got better, right? But like that dad was a piece of shit. Oh my God. Yeah. Infuriating. Fucking infuriating.
He was,
early on when he's like they're standing in front of the train tracks and he's going after the crow and the woman thinks he's gonna like throw himself in front of the train. I'm like, maybe it'd be for the best. Like, goddamn, you've already done enough to this girl. Stop.
I mean, he was gonna throw himself off, but then he saw the thing on the crow's foot.
Yeah. He's like, thank God,
I don't know.
A crow with a message to save my life. It turned out well, but he did not do it for the right reason. Still, I don't know.
No,
Just
he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, just awful.
Mm-hmm.
Girl has a good good head on her shoulders, though.
Yes, she's great. I like the part that sold me on it was after a dude is like telling his story, and she's like, "Wait."
Yeah, she's like calling
if there
him
aren't
all this shit.
If there are mice there, then fucking why did you squeak? And he just stares at her. He's like, "What of it?"
Yeah. What was the? Oh, the like you weren't shaking his hand for a deal. You were giving him a candy or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
He, like took the picture. He's like, "Excuse you."
It's not like, the Alpha Tower. That's Tokyo Tower.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my god. See, like that bit was like she's great, and like it's very solid in that way. And the art style, very good, very solid stuff.
Yeah, Urasawa's really good with like layouts and the way like panels feed into each other and like facial expression.
Mm-hmm.
He's just fucking really good at that stuff. Just really good at. So when he wants to do a hard dramatic moment, they hit really good. I'll say.
Nice.
You don't have that much of that in here.
But, not so much.
But this does have a thing he'll do of like all the characters in here are like well realized, like 3-dimensional people.
Yeah.
Except for like, the one who's a cartoon character. The ones who are cartoon characters on purpose or whatever.
I mean, even then, like they're 3-dimensional, but you don't realize it until the end or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Which is like, I don't know. I don't know if that counts. I feel like for some people, maybe myself included, like that's hit or miss. Like the entire time, this guy just being a dick, and then at the very tail end, like surprise, he was a person. He had feelings. Yeah, it was a good read. The like the back rooms and stuff of the Louvre were good in that they were like interesting and looked cool. Like it was yeah. It had heist elements without feeling like it didn't feel tropey or anything, Like it was a really half-assed heist. Like it was not like, I don't know. I had just seen we just watched like Ocean's 11 not long ago, and I saw it for the first time, the newer one.
Yeah.
So, that's like your classic heist. Yes. We watched Lupin on Netflix, in which he does he steals a thing that is being hosted at the Louvre. So like all that stuff going on, and in comparison, this is like blow the Vuvuza and then just take the shit and run.
Yeah, well, because they're not trying to actually escape with it.
Yeah,
you're just trying to
hide it,
and that's not the point anyway. Ultimately,
yeah.
The actual point is putting the ball in the place.
So the only thing I was like a little maybe I'm just not remembering. So we have like the 2 points of that symbol, or 3 points. Like I thought it was just the dude's teeth. Is that
it's like a million?
Yeah, because it was the dude's.
It's like his teeth. It's the fireman's rank.
His rank, yeah. Maybe it was something else as well that I just didn't catch. I feel like it may be related to the other dude as well, the dad, in some way. Like maybe there was a thing on like the tax form or something that I missed. It just felt like there was like one piece missing.
No, I think that was just like the sign that they follow to get to that guy has that symbol on it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's more to it than that.
Also, all those crows.
Yeah, because it's Odin.
What?
Because Odin. Odin has the two crows.
Oh yeah. Classical portrait of him that looked really Romanized. It was like,
Sure.
yeah. No, it was a good read.
Mm-hmm.
Who would
I wouldn't put it on par with his other stuff. Well,
on par with parts
his best stuff. I've also read there's another manga he wrote that's like lighthearted. Detectives like Master Keaton.
Okay.
And that also is kind of that's kind of on par with this, except not having Beverly Duncan.
If it didn't have Beverly Duncan,
yeah.
It would be so easy. It'd be so easy to be like, yeah, this is really good shit. But
I didn't. If I had known that was gonna be in there, when I saw that, I was like, oh.
I'm just trying to forget.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Still a little much for me for kind of unrelated reasons. I get why you did it, but
why he did it? Like why the
he just wanted to make fun of him.
yeah. I mean, who didn't? There was
most people did it pretty badly. This worked for me in a way most stuff making fun of Trump doesn't, at least. But
yeah,
still.
It would have. I think if I would have read this like immediately or something when it was all out, I don't know, it might have hit better like at the time, because I was still like in the thick of it. I was still in the mood to deal with that. But now I'm like, I just don't want to think about it.
Yeah,
I'm good.
And like I don't know, I can understand as a creator trying to work through it,
Yeah. Like you have the ability and. Huh. Oh well.
Yeah. So I think, but that's a good transition to my next thing.
Yeah.
Which is that I watched all of the anime for Monster, which was the first thing of Urasawa's that I ever read, which is his very long, sort of mystery-ish story. It's kind of like the thing he said that like inspired him the most about it was the TV show The Fugitive, where you just have this character who's just on the run, going around helping people.
Okay.
And the setup is you've got your main character is Dr. Kenzo Tenma being a Astro Boy reference name. And he's a young Japanese brain surgeon working in Germany, and he's like up and coming. He's dating like the director of the hospital's daughter, or he's engaged. She's his fiance, and he's like a super good brain surgeon. And like the director's taking credit for his work, but like he's on the track. And he gets called off on a operating he's about to do to save like an opera singer, I think. And afterwards, the person he was switched off of dies, and that person's wife like yells at him. It's like, why didn't you operate on him, my husband? You could have saved him. Why did he have to die or whatever? And like this really hits him hard. It's like, why was I pulled off? And then like the people around him are like, oh, because like literally his fiance says to him, oh, because all lives aren't equal. That dude was a well-known opera singer or whatever. His life was more valuable than that random Turkish dude. And this doesn't sit well with him. And then another night comes, and in comes this small child who's been shot in the head by his sister, his twin sister. and Tenma's about to operate on him, and then suddenly he's again, same situation happens. He's called off this operation to go operate on the mayor. And they're like, we need you to operate on the mayor. He's going to give us funding if you don't switch over there. And this time Tenma goes, no, I'm going to serve my patients in the order they came. And he saves the boy, and then the mayor ends up dying. And then Tenma's life falls apart. His fiance breaks up with him. He like loses all his status. People start shunning him. Like all his clout's gone, and it's like life kind of falls apart. And then there's a thing where the twins vanish, and then everyone above Tenma, like the director of the office, all get murdered. They're just all dead. So now Tenma's life's okay. Now Tenma, like, he was gonna have no status at the hospital, and now he's top dog again because everyone above him got killed. And then, like, 10 years later, I forget how it's set up. So there's more murders or something, but what it leads to is Tenma's treating this patient, and the patient's like killed someone for someone else, and it turns out that the kid that was shot in the head that Tenma saved is the one who killed all those people because Tenma had like said he wanted them dead while he was like crying over he was like mad about stuff while the kid was unconscious. And now he's grown up, and he like shoots this dude, and he's like become a Johan. And so Tenma has to like go and like try and chase him down to stop him or whatever. That's like the main thrust of the story. And it's like increasing. There's like all these conspiracies around Johan. And like some of them are around how he was raised in this in the post World War II Soviet orphanage, Kinderheim 511, where these experiments were being done. And then there's also stuff of Johan being like incredibly sadistic in the way he murders people, and like to like bring them to their worst point and stuff.
Yeah,
and then the other main character is Johan's twin sister, Anna, who then winds up getting raised as Nina by this other family, and she kind of doesn't have has amnesia, and then like once Tenma finds her, Johan like kills her parents, and then she gets also set off on going to stop Johan. So then along like the course of the show, it just keeps establishing more and more characters, either that Tenma's helping or other characters who are investigating some murder or something that then ends up tying back into Johan. And like as this web goes out, and the way it like introduces these new characters, and maybe this one will die, and this like their friend will now be an ongoing character, and it never like forgets about stuff. Like it does a great job of like all these new people it introduces for them. Like there are some exceptions, but a lot of them add to the richness of the story because they just get added into the stuff. Like he saves this kid Dieter from this abusive foster parent, and then that kid becomes like a major character going forward.
Okay.
And is voiced by the same voice actress as Naruto. So when I'm watching the anime, I'm like, oh man, there's a dude here who he has to kill a certain man, and fucking Naruto is out here telling him not to. This is very Naruto.
Sounds like a minus in my opinion, but sure.
Yeah, I was into it as well. I was watching the anime. She's a fucking great voice actress. Yeah, and the anime is like incredibly faithful. Like really, the reason I hadn't watched the anime before is because it's like shot for shot the manga. Like it just uses the manga as storyboards, basically. And because the comic is so good, it's still like a really good story. But it's not like the anime is really bringing anything different to the table other than the voice acting is good and they do it justice. It's just not like you kind of only need to do one of them. It's kind of up to you what you prefer. I'd still think that I'd still say the comic's better just because as a comic it really stands out his the way he tells the story and does layouts and stuff. Whereas in anime it's not like particularly inspiring animation or anything.
Yeah.
Pretty plain.
I mean, there's something to be said about sticking that closely to the source, though.
Yeah,
like
they didn't just fuck it up for sure.
yeah. I mean, just knowing that like you can choose, that's huge.
Yeah,
to me.
It's like literally they didn't cut out anything, they didn't add anything.
Yeah.
They just filled in between panels, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking good.
It's
it's really good.
It's like beefy, isn't it? Isn't it like 70 episodes?
It's 74 episodes, yeah.
74. Yeah. I took a peek. I think it was after I told you that, like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna happen. I did try without mentioning, so there would be no disappointment. I like started up the first episode and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, it's just not hitting. Maybe someday.
Yeah, well, and I read the comic, the manga, like shortly after I read Death Note. And it's it was kind of like, oh, this is giving me certain things, but it's like a more mature story.
Yeah.
And like that one, and it's definitely held up better over time.
Oh, dude, it's not hard to hold up better than Death Note.
So there's that.
God, wasn't on the pile, but what a rough anime Death Note was. Going back.
Oh, I hate that.
That was.
I mean, yeah, I really like the comic. I hate the anime.
See, it was my first anime. And I was like, what? I had to be like 13 or 14. So I thought it was the coolest goddamn shit. It was so cool. And then I
like
back
the first opening.
First opening.
The second opening.
Solid.
The second opening is one of the worst anime openings ever.
Yeah, I actually had. I mean, as an anime opening, yeah, I don't know. That band had some good songs. Like as a song on a CD with other songs in that genre, it was okay. There was some good shit, but
okay, that song is just super not for me at all.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't. I like the other songs from that band better.
Sure.
I don't remember any of them. I remember like how much I enjoyed them or didn't enjoy them, but yeah.
I don't know. I made it like 7 episodes into that show before I was kind of out.
Yeah.
When they like super over dramatized him like eating a chip.
I'll take a potato chip.
Oh, okay, fucking show. Calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
God. It was like making things that were small, like blowing them so out of proportion.
I mean, the show and I mean the original manga I'm sure aren't quite as bad with this, but going through that like prequel book that we did on Pier 39, the Los Angeles BB murder case. Oh my god. The leaps in logic that they take are Olympic grade. It's crazy. Like It's so fucking ridiculous. I think what the problem is, and maybe, I mean, maybe you remember better than I do if the manga does some of this as well, or the show manga. It feels like it's stuff. It's like logic stuff that only works because somebody designed it to work as a complete story, if that makes sense. Like, there's no possible way anyone in a void would ever come to these conclusions, and the only reason the characters can is because they were designed to, and it just feels like that. It doesn't feel like they're smart. It feels like they're programmed. It's just
sure.
ugh.
Yeah, so I'd say there are like two aspects to it that I like. There's like characters actually investigating a thing and trying to figure out, and then there's like dumb battle of wits shit that's like also incredibly stupid, like the fucking tennis match. So I love both those aspects, and kind of just like Monster gives me the actual investigating a thing and following up on it, and then like for dumb battles of wits that are stupid, I go with Code Geass, and there's this other anime, When the Seagulls Cry, where all the battle of wits are the dumbest thing, so it's actually better because they're so stupid. It's
Hell
like
yeah.
literally just the main character saying witches don't exist. Like, it's about like closed rooms where it's like, oh, either a witch did this or there was an explanation. And
Yeah.
the main character, Battler, is just always like, well, witches don't exist, so that's the important thing. Like, to the point where there was like an arc of that where like it's all a trap setting up for him to sign a piece of paper that says witches exist. And he's like, wait a minute. Why does this say witches exist? The character's like, sign it. After a whole arc of tricking him. It's so good. The only reason I never can recommend that anime is because it doesn't have an ending. It's based on like a visual novel series, and they only adapted like the first half. It just ends.
So,
but I fucking love it.
So for Monster, I mean, also like part of the maybe the appeal to edgier, cooler 13-year-old me was the God of Death thing, right? The idea like, man, I deserve to have a Death Notebook because I would use it properly naturally.
No.
Yeah.
No
shit.
I mean, that's Code Geass. Honestly.
Yeah, I remember the same time.
And that show has
period.
its own problems, but I like that one holds up more for me.
Does Monster ever get like more? Is there any like kind of supernatural stuff that comes up, or is it only the allusions to like potential experiments or whatever? Or is there any like reveal or fruition of that?
No, there's no actual supernatural stuff in there.
Okay.
There is a character who like has like the Hulk alternate personality thing where he blacks out and just wakes up and everyone's dead. But that's kind of the and he's like he was like obsessed with this, a cartoon where the main character did that. Where it's like a cowardly character, and then he turned into the Incredible Steiner and he became super strong, but he never remembered that he was Steiner.
Gotcha.
And there's like a scene where like he blacks out and then he wakes up and his hands are covered in blood and he's like, oh, I did it again.
Lord. So
I mean, there's no actual supernatural stuff in Monster.
Any other comments, Monster?
No, it has like it's like climactic shot is like burned into my brain as one of my favorite ever. Like at the moment, it's like
okay,
but like that's all in context, so
yeah,
you have to have been following it, 18 volumes to get there.
Yeah. So it's a complete. I mean, there's two things of mine that I think are relevant. I'm gonna do one of them is like similar in tone, but I'm gonna do the one that's a complete reversal because it also, like the manga and anime are, from what I've seen, like incredibly well adapted. Like it's like panel for panel. And
Sure.
there's like the only thing so far has been, I can't say if they've left anything out because this is I'm not sure which exactly is the right translation, but don't toy with me, Miss Nagatoro. It's that it's the latest like shit tier meme anime that the internet has latched onto a little bit apparently. And as I mentioned in the Discord, I'm apparently on like roughly a 2-year cycle of wanting to watch hot garbage. So
Hell yeah.
2021, here I am. 2015, it was prison school. 2017, monster girl harem anime. Something in 2019, or maybe I tried different things. Who fucking knows? But now we're here. I mean, it's hot garbage. It's hot fucking trash. It's just about like your basic bitch beta male main character, and girl gets a crush on him and just teases the shit out of him, like often suggestively. There's like a certain nostalgia to it because like I'm thinking about high school me. Like if I put me at these characters' ages, like 15 or whatever, would have been all about that. Like I'm reading my fantasy right now. Now, but I could still like relate back to it. And the other thing
sounds like some anime ass anime, man.
It's some fucking anime ass anime.
Ugh.
See,
Ugh.
this is I guess the other thing now, like having watched it, it's ongoing, unfortunately. So like, I think there's only gonna be like 10 volumes of the manga. There's like 7. They're super short though, and there's like multiple stories per volume. Like it's kind of like some of them are only a few pages. Like it's just a bunch of interactions and incidents and shit. The thing that's kind of keeping me going is it lets up enough. Like, yeah, she's teasing him and being like an actual shitlord, but there is just enough growth there, and there are enough moments where it's like you can clearly see that they do like have a thing for each other, that I'm still invested enough. There was another, I can't even remember the name of the fucking anime. It was some shit post girl, like internet edgelord, can't talk to real people, and it never let up on that trope. Like me and Peter watched it, like hoping for that resolution at the end, right? And it ends, and she's still just a piece of shit who can't talk to people. Like it was just an incident of the week. Like I'm never getting better at talking to people. At least here, like something will happen and she'll like make some offhand joke about like, if you could ask me to do things sometimes. And then like a few pages later, he's like, no, like she's right. I have to ask her to do shit. And he like asks her to do something. Then she makes fun of him again, but then does the thing with him. Like there's that, they give you just enough. Like they know when to let off a little. So I mean, it's been like enjoyable, but it's still garbage. But sometimes it's every 2 years.
I mean, it just sounds like you're enjoying this, like the soap opera of it.
Yeah. I want to see them happy in the end, The only complaint I have, I guess the manga artist also does a lot of hentai, and I mean he definitely does up those crazy. He definitely does up those crazy eyes. I'm all about those crazy eyes, but he goes real fucking hard on feet. Like there's not a lot of like shit to do with it, but if for some reason she like is barefoot, you're gonna fucking know it. There's gonna be a close up, and her toes are gonna be curling like fingers, and I'm like, you gotta calm down, dude. Like, it would be different if it was a foot fetish manga, but it's not. Nobody's here for that.
Isn't it though?
Not yet,
apparently.
Anyway. So, yeah, that's
all I'm hearing is that you're a weeb who likes garbage just because it's anime.
Every 2 years. Every 2 years I transform into a piece of shit. See, that's what, if like it could have been, maybe if there would have been like a revival of the internet's love for like Food Wars or something, I could have been on that last week. It could have happened. It could have been. It's luck. Whatever shit passes in front of my eyes when the moment strikes. But yeah, so that was a thing I like blew through.
Sure.
The other thing, which is objectively better, maybe objectively good, and definitely fits the grim tone, is Sweet Tooth. Have you? Now you said you had no interest. Do you like know what it is then? Like you have looked into it?
Yeah.
Or something. Okay.
I've read the guy who wrote it, Jeff Lemire, wrote a run on Animal Man for DC, and I read his run on Animal Man.
Okay.
So I've read a comic by that guy.
Gotcha.
And I didn't love it, so.
Do you know if the art style was the same? Like, is it consistent?
I mean, it's probably a different artist.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good point. Yeah, the art style really freaked me out. Like, and it kind of didn't get better. It's just, I don't even know what exactly it is. It looks like it's not meant to be scary, I don't think, but it's like haunting. I don't know. It's like off-putting. Like, not in a I dislike it way, but in like a it triggers something inside of me way that like sends my brain into alert mode. I don't like it. Maybe it's because everybody has like wide dead eyes or something, or the main character does, Sweet Tooth. Yeah, so it's about what triggered this was Netflix is coming out with their, well, I guess Robert Downey Jr. is producing it, a Netflix adaptation. And
Dr. Doolittle's Robert Downey Jr. presents.
I mean, it's looking. So Foxy had brought it up.
I guess Jeff Lemire did draw the Sweet Tooth comic too. He both wrote and drew it, but he only wrote Animal Man.
Yeah. So the Foxy had mentioned the Netflix adaptation, and I mean, I didn't watch it. After reading this comic, I went back and watched it. They fucked it up. Maybe they're doing a bait and switch, but they turned like the road. It's basically that sort of story. Like, it's just shitstorm after shitstorm, and there's some feel good moments, but there's usually something dark waiting around the corner. And they're like the Netflix trailer looks like a sweet coming of age story with like a little boy who's in the woods and likes candy. And it's like, this comic is fucking nightmare fuel. Like, it's not nice. So, the premise of it is essentially, basically one day a plague starts, and it kind of spreads down from the north and just starts infecting everybody. They just call it like the sickness or the sick, and there's no cure, there's no anything. Like, everybody just kind of starts getting it eventually, but it's not like, oh, I'm sick and then I contact you and you get sick. Like, it could be, oh, I'm sick and I contact you, and then like 7 years later you die, but it's from the same thing. Like, it's just completely, it's not if it gets you, it's when. And at the same time this plague starts, every single newborn child is a human-animal hybrid to some extent. So some are like more animal than human, but still with like maybe like 2 arms and 2 legs or whatever. And our main character, Sweet Tooth, is pretty human looking, still kind of, he has like an Arthur thing going on, right? Like pretty damn human, but also clearly like animal stuff. And he has horns, like deer horns, and like kind of some of the facial features and shit. So yeah, he lives with his like kind of crazy religious dad in the woods. His dad dies of the plague, and then he's out into the world with this guy who kind of takes him in. And it's I really like that they dive into this, like this plague. They like, that's kind of the going in, I wasn't sure if the focal point was going to be just like them surviving, or if the focal point was going to be on like the cause of this plague and like what the fuck is going on and all that. And it was on the latter, and it made me really happy. There's some kind of cool like supernatural-ish shit, not like demons and stuff like on the earth, but kind of like higher powered sort of things going on, is what I'll say. And it's just pretty good. Like it's it clips right along, and I mean it's dark, and again the art style never like it never clicked with me. It was always unsettling, but I think that really added to the tone overall. Like the comic doesn't want you to feel settled. And even there's a few different times where it's like, oh, they met a group of people and they like gave them their happy ending, and then that group gets like mercilessly slaughtered in like the next panel after they leave. So yeah, it was a very interesting read, and I definitely see where the rage is coming from for the Netflix trailer now. Like they fucked that one right up. Unless it's a bait and switch, who knows? So yeah, that's my take. I don't know that it's something I'll ever come back to, I guess. Like I don't feel the need to get a physical edition of it, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a medium length.
I read the Animal Run that Lemire wrote, and I was like, this is okay.
Yeah,
but I didn't feel compelled to read anything else by him.
Yeah, and this, like, I mean, I guess even the writing itself, like, the concepts are interesting, but it's definitely more of, like, the tone. Like, some of the actual, like, some of the antagonist stuff is...
Yeah.
It's actually just, I mean, it's pretty simple. Like, it's just generic military antagonist. Like, I got real sick of that part real fast. So there was a lot of skimming whenever I had to deal with those assholes, because like that's just
yeah.
Also the reason why I'm probably never gonna watch Avatar again. Like, we get it. Blue people bad. Fine.
Oh, that Avatar.
This guy's out here thinking I'm talking about one of the greatest shows of all time.
It's the one that's worth talking about.
True. But yeah, so military assholes.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Animal Man was a book that had some good ideas, but like I just didn't care about the characters.
Animal Man.
And the ideas weren't as good as the ideas in Grant Morrison's previous Animal Man run. That's older.
Yeah, so that's one of my things. What do you got next?
So speaking of anime,
yeah,
Gundam.
Which Gundam?
So after I finished Monster, I'm like, I'm gonna do up a classic. I'm gonna do up original 79 Mobile Suit Gundam, because I've heard it's pretty good, that it actually has the elements all the elements of Gundam or like and mech shows influenced by like come from it, that it is the one to watch, really. In a way that if I had heard it more like 10 years ago or whatever, I would have watched it 10 years ago. But I kind of only heard that stuff more recently for whatever reason. Cause like the way anime goes, Gundam sort of, it's not a hit, but it does then kind of just, it eventually takes off because of like toy sales, figure sales, and then like redefines like all mech shows after Gundam are Gundam. And then Neon Genesis Evangelion happens, and then all after that all shows are Eva. For better and for worse in many ways. So it's kind of just interested in like, and I've one of the things I've heard is that there's elements from Eva that are already in Gundam. And I think those people kind of miss the point of the stuff that people rip off from Eva that makes everything Eva, but which is more about dumb stuff of it being weird than actual content, but whatever. Like, Gundam is a show about child soldiers and how war is fucked, whereas Eva is more a show about depression and anxiety than it is about the actual things that happen in the show.
Yeah,
is really the thing, and I feel like the people that compare Eva too much to Gundam are missing, or like literally only looking at the things that happen in it. Mm-hmm. Which is like, take what you want from a thing. But yeah, Gundam. So the thing that I liked about Gundam as I started watching it is that it's like a bleak show about war being terrible and all the adults are dead, so these children have to fight this war. But also, it's about the Gundam, the greatest toy ever made. And the Gundam is like our main character. He pilots the Gundam because he sees them. He finds the manual as they're escaping, and he's such a nerd that he just sits there and reads it in the middle of needing to escape, and then he gets in the mech, and it's so good. Like, it has this, like, they describe it as having this, like, AI that's, like, compensating for however, like, newbie a pilot he is. And it just wrecks everything. Like, like, this is a world where you have mobile suits, mechs. But the Gundam, like, one-shots all the other enemy mechs. Like, it's so much better than them in the early episodes, and it's so good. Like, that part of it I just love.
Hell yeah.
It's just like boop bop bop, get wrecked. Like, the enemy is all these like super trained soldiers, and our heroes are these children who don't know what they're doing, but their equipment is so much better.
It's so good.
And then they're kind of like constantly on the back foot from this character Char, who's the first main antagonist, who's like really clever and really good. He can stand up to the Gundam in his normal mech, even though his mech is way worse. But he's just so good that he can at least fight without immediately dying. Mm-hmm. And he keeps like the whole first series of episodes. It's just the main characters are trying to escape. And it's like one thing right after another. Like, it never lets up. They're constantly under attack. And then they like get to a military base, and immediately the actual military that's on their side like wants to throw them in jail for stealing this military equipment and like take it away from them. And then they get attacked, and they can't do that because only these kids who like grew up around this stuff actually know how to use it. And these military base doesn't have anywhere to house the civilians that are on the white base, which is the name of their ship. Mm-hmm. And they're like, they have two other mechs. They have the gun tank and the gun cannon, and I like that those things aren't that good. It's like the Gundam is the one, and these other ships are like they're fine, but they're not the thing.
Yeah, they're the side bitches.
Yeah, but and like literally they're on the back foot, and they get chased all the way to they go to Earth, and then they're like they get stuck in enemy territory on Earth, and they're still running away. I'm like halfway through the show. They're literally just been running the whole time. Although hilariously at this point I'm at now, the enemy is so out of supplies in terms of pursuing them that it's just like, in this episode, the enemy attacks with just dudes and jetpacks. they're out of stuff.
Amazing.
It's like, okay. So like I've lost a little momentum with it because that's where the enemy, the Zeon forces are at. All the story stuff, all the drama is tied up in like internal struggle of the commander like wanting more out of like our main character Amuro's kind of a shit, or he's like a kid, so he like steals the Gundam and runs away from home for a while. And they're like, don't do that, we need the Gundam. Or we're all gonna die. And then they put him in jail. The thing that really gets me is they let a girl pilot the Gundam and she immediately gets her ass kicked. And I hate that. It's like, no, the Gundam was the best. It wasn't. Why are you now making Amuro like he's the super pilot and it's like they're also building up that he's like an Esper. He's like psychic or whatever, and that's why he's so good at the Gundam. And I'm like, that's lame. It was better when the Gundam was just the super weapon that's better than everything else. Like, he pilots the gun cannon and gets way more out of it or the gun tank and gets more out of it than other people or whatever, like, wants to.
Yeah.
I hate that shit. That stuff's lame to me, so I like that way less. It was so much better early on when it was literally just, he had time to read the manual. No one else has had time to read the manual.
Yeah, he's the... he just knows.
There's literally a scene where, like, he's like childhood friend who's a girl is like, give me the manual, I'll read it. And he's like, no, that's not possible. And he like goes from being in a funk, not wanting to pilot, to piloting the Gundam again. Like, this is the plot of that episode after he gets slapped by the commander of the White Base. Like, that shit was not cool. 70s, get your shit together.
Yeah.
There's a lot of slapping. This is like the most 70s thing about the show,
dude.
But it's, you know, I'll get back to it. The other thing is Char was like easily the best villain, and he hasn't been in the show for a while, ever kind of since they got to Earth. He got like demoted because he like secretly plotted to get his superior Ossiver, who's like a son of the Emperor, like killed because he hates the Emperor for some reason that we don't actually know yet. So I'm sure that'll come back and that'll make the show better again. But it kind of, that stuff killed my momentum where it transitioned away from the Gundam is the coolest and it just murders everything.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned something about like the girl wants to pilot the Gundam and then gets her ass kicked or whatever.
Yeah. So one girl wants to pilot it, and he says no. And then there's another girl who does pilot it, and she, like, immediately, like, the Gundam's foot gets cut off. Like, she just gets completely destroyed.
Yeah.
And she's piloted a couple times, but she's, like, not that effective in it. It's just annoying. It's just annoying.
I mean, it's like a mini mention. I didn't get through all those Beowulf comics, the 70s ones, but
damn.
Yeah, that 70s take on women.
Yeah, I honestly almost would have preferred if they hadn't let any girls pilot it. Like,
yeah.
No, these are the boys' toys. Just like the purity of that. What I don't like about it is that they're undermining the Gundam even.
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
it.
Well, yeah, because if it's the AI and then it's like taking, yeah, I got you.
Yeah, because then they're using it to build up Amuro specifically, where there's no fucking reason to. Like, why does he also have to be the best super pilot? I hate that. That's the shit I don't. The shit I don't like. That's like too much. You're like putting the chocolate sauce on top of the chocolate cookie or whatever.
Okay, see, now you have my attention.
It's just too much.
You couldn't have picked a tastier analogy for me.
Just one thing was enough.
Look, as someone who went to get ice cream once and got like chocolate ice cream with chocolate sauce, M&M's, fudge, chocolate chunks, and like hot fudge on the side, and brownie bits, like I'm now interested in this anime. Also,
I think they're gonna build. I think like the way the series goes, like they're gonna have to build a better Gundam because he's too good a pilot or whatever.
Yeah. Also, the theme song is not great.
No,
sorry.
It's fire. You're wrong.
Gotta say,
Eneg agreed with me. You're wrong.
It's not great.
It's great, and the more you listen to it, the more you Stockholm syndrome yourself with it, the better it gets.
Of course. No, I know.
Like I even the one that I don't think the ending theme was great, but now I've Stockholm myself enough with that one too that I also love it. Because one of the things like with older stuff, so much of it was like you're immersed in it and you hear that shit enough that like you just have nostalgia for it. So I've just been listening to it a lot just so I'm in that headspace. Because like if I'm gonna watch it, I'm gonna fucking watch it.
Yeah.
So I will say that's kind of been my approach with it, is like just listening to it on repeat until it's burned into my brain.
I prefer the Godzilla singular point approach of just being a banger off the bat.
Yeah, but I don't remember that one afterwards.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't remember Gundam.
I don't remember it. I don't remember it exactly, but I remember it enough to be like. No,
the lick when the guitar lick comes in on the Gundam theme, and then it pops off, and then all the characters show up.
No,
in the line, and then everybody's always turning around.
I think for my
also, I just in general like songs with lyrics more than songs without lyrics.
So yeah, sure.
That's part of it.
I think my nostalgic theme song, well, there's two of them. One is I don't listen to it that much in a void, but I remember like loving the hell out of it as a kid. That was the Shaman King opening. And I never watched the show really. But I would watch, like, if I caught it, or it was, like, coming up next, I'd watch the opening and then bail. I really enjoyed it. And, like, the granddaddy of all intros is a Sonic Underground theme. Too fucking good.
Have you ever listened to the opening to Zack Storm, which is on Netflix?
No.
It's hilarious. Me and my friend were literally just, like, as going through shit on Netflix and stop on that because they'll just play the theme song as the preview, or it used to at least. They might have stopped, and we would just listen to it and laugh at it.
I'll have to check it out.
It says Zack Storm a lot. That's like my platonic ideal of terrible kid show theme songs that are amazing. Will never watch the show.
Yeah, I really want to love the Thundercats intro, like the old one, and it just never holds up. Every time I go back to it, I'm disappointed. Like, I remember it being so much better.
He goes thunder, thunder, Thundercats ho.
Yeah, but the follow-up is weak as piss.
I mean, that checks out. Thundercats sucks.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
I like the
line
second
so
Thundercats show, even though they had a thing where people didn't believe in technology. Like the gimmick was, this is a world where technology has fallen into myth. So all the characters are like, technology, that's not real.
Amazing.
It's like there's a toaster right here. What are you talking about? It was so dumb. It was the dumbest fucking thing.
You just need Snarf. Snarf. Lionel.
Oh, that's the worst of 80s anime, is those kind of characters. Fucking... Yeah. Oh. I can't remember his name from He-Man.
So... I wasn't gonna talk really about it much, but like the Beowulf comic with that shit, you know, muscly dudes. It just like we get like 5 panels deep, and he like punches a woman in the jaw, and like she was technically an enemy, sure. But the way that everybody treats women makes it a hell of a lot worse. To have a one-off panel of just like the pow effect, and she's just like punching her right in the fucking jaw, and then like later, she kind of joins his side because she's like the slamming hottie, right? So of course, and she like talks about how she's a warrior, and the panel is so fucking good because it's like, I mean, I get they tried to do this thing where they took the Swedes and the Danes and the Geats from actual Beowulf, and they like noble savaged them. So like all their shit is about war and they're fighting, but also like they're the whole noble savage thing going on. They actually use the term noble savage, I think. So that's great. And at one point there's this amazing panel where this woman claims to be a warrior, and Beowulf, who's like an absolute douche canoe in this version, is like, a warrior, a woman, a Swede. You can't fucking believe that both a woman and a Swede would be a warrior, and it's just, I mean, there's something magical about like reading this in between full page adverts for karate and unlocking the power of my feet and fists. Like, it's just, I've never read an old comic before, and it's an interesting experience. Also,
Orca was the character from He-Man I was trying to think of.
Orca? Orko?
Orko. He's a dumb voice.
Great. Yeah, there is a great disclaimer in the, not a disclaimer, but like, they talk about the idea that it's an adaptation of Beowulf, and they talk about the original, and they're trying to like also upsell it because I think the publishing company also has copies of it, so they're like, we had to tone down the gore for this comic, like we can't have parents calling in, but if you want to check it out for yourself, like you can order these translations. And I've actually read some of the translations they recommended, which is funny, but yeah, so they have this, and they talk about, like, you know, we're doing our own thing, we're writing, like, a comic of it, but, like, we're trying to stay respectful to the tone and whatever of the original work, which they're clearly fucking not at all. But people, I looked at some of so there's six issues, and people, it doesn't start in the first 3, I think, or maybe in the 3rd one it does. People start writing in, right? So you have like the letters from readers, and it's just people get into little bitch fights about like the actual Beowulf, because someone complained about some name or something, and the next person, like in the next issue, someone else is like, well, clearly Randy didn't know he has a loose grasp of Scandinavian languages at best. I'm a whatever, and it's just amazing. So that's been a whole experience. I'm enjoying the adverts more than the story, but it's fun going through everything.
Oh. Can you undelete the stuff in the doc you deleted so I can use it for the show notes?
Oh yeah, that would, that's
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I did that up. And the other thing that kind of is on the, leading in from not great stuff with women, a sad link in this chain, Major Grom, or Major Grom in Russian. So there is what sparked this one was a film was just released, and I think there was like a very short film, like a few minutes, that was kind of like a not a promo, a pilot sort of, just to gauge like public reaction. So there is Bubble Comics in Russia, and I think it is like one of the biggest or the biggest like Russian comics publisher. Not that that's a high bar to reach, and that's one of their older series. All of these are like, and older is still pretty new, like mid 2010s or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was a comic, and they have this film that came out, and I'm like, I knew a little bit about it. I had looked into this publisher, and there were a few comics I wanted to read, and pretty much, I think like most, if not all of their series, like the first 15 issues are available on like Comixology and that sort of thing. So, they have a bunch, and then they have, I guess it's like their own, like the bubble, like the Bubbleverse stuff. Like they have their various series, and then they have like an event, and they all like coalesce into one thing. And
comics, got it.
Yeah, comic shit. And one of them is like far more popular, and it's Equilibrium. It's weird. It's like Equilibrium, but there's an X in it somewhere. And it's this girl who, like, she's a super nerd, games, anime, cartoons, comic, like the whole 9 yards, and finds herself like kind of in these worlds or dealing with characters from these worlds and that sort of thing. So that's like their I think that's their first foray into like the English market. Like that comic was the most popular, so it has like a physical English omnibus, I guess, for it.
Sure.
But wanted to check out this film, see how it stacked up, because I noticed that Walt Disney was also like the publisher or whatever. So I'm like, okay, like it's probably not an absolute shit tier Russian film. At the very least, it's probably like Marvel tier. So did up the comic, did up the film, mostly out of interest to just see how it compares. And I mean, it's to me, it's interesting. It's not great, but it's interesting. Like the way that the characters act and how these comics are written. I understand why they're popular here, and it's because there's definitely more of like I guess like a bro culture. It's like this weird thing where on a professional level, right? There's like not a lot of sexism. As far as I've seen, heard, like the various students and people that I've talked to and everything else, like there's not the whole like women earn 70 cents to $1 thing going on. And that's been a long time, like since the Soviet period. That was a huge deal, right? Like everybody's equal. Like the Soviets were using America's sexist and racist policies and being like, look at what these barbarians are doing. Like, what the fuck? Humans are equal to other humans. So in that regard, they're fine. In the public eye, like there's a long way to go. So, for example, like a guy walks into a room, he's gonna shake hands with all the other men and like rarely the woman. So it's like stuff like that, and it definitely comes out like in this comic, and like just that sort of broness, and it's never like terrible, but it's just like it feels like a teenager is writing these. Kind of, or at least the translation does. Like in the comic, our titular character, Major Grom, is like a badass detective, as you do, and good at fighting and all that shit. And in the comic, actually, he doesn't save a woman. It's not like a damsel in distress thing, but he sees that these people are about to like drive by a woman on the street and like grab her handbag, and he stops the whole thing, and ends up like becoming his love interest. And there's like several, I think it happens 3 times, and I think it might be a translation thing as well, but this woman says verbatim, like, he's so awesome. Like, you're so awesome. Just saying it, and it's so not great about, like, how this woman, like, her job is to be obsessed with Grom. And it I don't know, it just feels so, ugh, from that character perspective. But the story is okay. People are dying, like, how are they connected, that sort of thing. And the film pulled a Watchmen. They didn't have the balls to do what the comic did at the end.
Oh.
Yeah. So in the comic, it turns out that this eccentric, I mean, kind of like your, not a Mark Zuckerberg stand-in, but like social media billionaire, has been, he wants to clean, pretty classic shit, wants to clean the world and like purge it of filth and whatever. And he's been doing this by like testing all these, like, he has like this weird, it's not a trap, it's not a obstacle course, trap, quest, puzzle, maze thing, I don't know, like, only the, you have to have a pure heart or whatever, you have to be a good person to pass this. And essentially it turns out he's been kidnapping like hundreds and thousands of homeless people and just like stripping them nude and sending them into this thing, and they all inevitably die. And he has like some police force and some other people and like a doctor and stuff that are helping him acquire these people or sending them his way or whatever. And some shit goes wrong, so he has to kill the people who were helping him, and it all comes back. So like, it basically, he's just like going crazy and doing his billionaire creep show shit, and it's really dark and grim and blah blah blah. In the comic, they like, and there's like a plague doctor thing. He like uses this costume and like poses as a vigilante for justice, and that's why like he's killing these corrupt doctors and policemen, even though it was just to cover his own shit. The movie goes all in on that, and they make that plague doctor thing like the main antagonist, like Batman, but an antagonist. And they do like, the reveal is like a Fight Club thing. Like, it turns out like it's him and his friend, and he like has this friend that he had known forever, and while they're doing this big reveal for their new social media feature, whatever the hell, this news story breaks about how drunk drivers from the son of a politician or whatever, like, drunk driving and killed this little girl. And of course the judge throws the case out because the guy did nothing wrong, blah blah blah, even though it's corruption and bullshit. And he tells the billionaire tells his friend, like, that's unjust, blah blah blah, something. And the friend is like, it won't happen again. And then like the friend becomes this evil Batman and starts like killing the corrupt people. But then the reveal is that the friend died like 6 years ago, and it's just the billionaire having like another personality, and it's just fucking weird. It's still like, I mean, it feels okay. They treated the woman better in the film. They definitely like made her a character, so that was cool. But they somehow also had her do less, if that makes sense. She didn't drive things as much as she did in the comic, even though she was shittier in the comic. I don't know. It was it's like an interesting look at all that stuff, at like what people prefer here. So I can't Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'll also say about Gundam. One of the interesting parts about it's like the way its sexism manifests. Its female characters are actually pretty well drawn characters. The show just treats them like garbage.
Yeah.
But they're like pretty complete people.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like they're not like I don't really have complaints of them as characters. It's just like the way that then those characters are treated by the world in this show.
Yeah.
It's no good.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was the other thing. So it was cool for the film more so than the comic, because it takes place in St. Petersburg and it was like filmed here and stuff. So it's kind of like an experience I've never really had. Like the best I've been able to have is like if something is shot in New York, I can be like, oh, I was there once, and like I know I was in this general area. But here it's like, oh, I know where you guys are. That's cool. Like I'm around here constantly, so that's a neat feeling as someone who's never really had that. They don't film many things in bumfuck Wisconsin, so they had to. It's sort of it's a weird. The film, I think the film like had a bit more attention on it in terms of like response and everything from like professional like outlets, and it is a weird thing where like I mean, of course it's your classic trope, right, where the villain is fighting against corruption, but they're doing it in a bad way, or at least they're portrayed as fighting against corruption. But the film got criticisms for being like too, like it was not pro police, but like there's never a like an ethics debate with like the main characters about like, should these corrupt people be allowed to die? Like there's never that internal dialogue. It's just like, no, you're breaking the law, fucker. Which like sure, but it just comes off weird. And they really had to filthy up St. Petersburg. They made it look like such a shithole. Like they had one of those classic it's like a back alley. There's like all these rough characters and like garbage and like little shitty open markets and stuff, and just looks awful. Except it's like a block away from like the tourist district. Like it's just not there at all. Me and Ani were laughing at it.
No.
It was a good time.
I don't know. Garbage being a block away from the tourist district? That sounds like New York to me.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. Like when like New York is fine, but there is garbage in the streets. Like y'all just pile that shit up on corners sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not ever, like all the time. That just happens.
And see, that doesn't like that's not a thing here because they pile it in the back. Like it's still piled, but it's out of sight.
Yeah,
like,
it happens in the streets in Manhattan because there's nowhere else to put it.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just funny that they're trying to make it look like this nightmare, and it's just not. Like it's just not. There corruption, sure, absolutely, but like all this shit out in the streets and just happening, like, nah. And I've been to the shitty parts of the city.
I mean, it also might have been worse, like, however, when that thing was made than it is now.
The comic maybe. I don't think it was that much worse. The film though was made like this year. Like it's a very super recent release. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but if they're going by the comic, then
yeah, it's still just
I don't know.
Yeah, it's still just a weird thing of like fighting corruption, but also like trusting the system. It's an odd duality.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A perfect segue into Nancy, if you want to talk about it.
Talking about good female characters.
Yeah. Or great female characters.
I wrote down Nancy as a thing to talk about on a pile of salt, like the last, right after we did the last one, so it's just been a while. I don't know, I read Nancy all the time. It's so good. Specifically since, Olivia James took over it. And that transition was hilarious.
Oh my god.
The comments.
The comments, dude.
On the
website. The people, there's so many people were just absolutely horny about on Fritz.
Well, these were people who were reading Nancy before, and the Nancy strip that existed before was fucking terrible. Like, it was just bad comics. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Oh no, I took a peek. I mean, it's not great. It's not stuff I'm gonna go back and read.
And then suddenly Nancy was fucking amazing, and those old fucks were not having it. They were like, what is this? Good comics?
This isn't.
No.
All kids know how to do today is use phone and eat chip. Like, just. But that made it, like, great. Like, that, I mean, that would encourage me to read it more.
No, the fact that all the comments fucking hated it was only more encouraging to read it. The fact that it was, like, really funny.
Yeah, dude, some of those are just...
Like, wildly good for a newspaper comic.
Yeah.
Like, actually unreal for a legacy newspaper comic.
God, I think it's one of the really early ones, like from the newer version, where it's like, I forget the setup, but like it goes in like she is going in on that cornbread.
That's the first one.
The first one, yeah.
God,
it's such a solid start. It's so fucking good, and there's just so many.
She's such a sweet girl. Also a salt girl. And she doesn't shy away from that butter either. Wow. She's going in on that cornbread.
It's so good.
It's the perfect introduction to Nancy.
I love it. I don't like... I guess, like, I don't know what's stopping me. I should probably just add it to, like, my RSS feed, but I've never actually caught up on it, so I don't feel that I want to, like, I don't want to skip ahead to right now and then keep up with it from, like, this point on. But there's also a fair bit of clicking to be done to get through the backlog. But it's good. Like, anytime you or anyone else, like, posts a link, I always click it. It's usually worth a peek.
I retweet it on Twitter pretty often because that's generally where I read it. Just as I'm so bad at keeping up with webcomics, honestly, just putting them in my Twitter feed and then I come across them is like the best way for me to do it.
Yeah.
Without like me, so that way like my broken brain that can't do things I want to do can still consume.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. Also, I just bought the first collection, the physical book.
That'd be a good one to buy.
Yeah.
So many of these, like I did buy the first volume of Questionable Content, and it's just not. I don't go back. I don't feel the urge to go back in something like that enough. But like. With a lot of actually like historically like newspaper comics, I enjoy going back to them sometimes. When I was younger, I mentioned Calvin and Hobbes before, but like something like Zitz or Foxtrot or whatever, I would enjoy like just kind of. I never wanted a shitload of them, but sometimes I'd want to just browse a little, a little dose.
Sure.
Like something like Nancy. That's probably in that same vein for me. Thinking about it.
I mean, Nancy's just on a whole nother level for me, honestly.
Well, yeah.
Sluggo is lit, dude. I have a poster of that image that my friend gave me.
Sluggo is lit.
Still need to get it framed.
Hell yeah. Oh, Nancy is good. Maybe that'll like be my content catch up.
Hell yeah. Because it does have storylines occasionally.
Yeah, it has like little, or like arcs, I suppose.
Yeah, it has story arcs. And then just lots of good jokes.
Fucking bangers.
Good comic specific jokes, like the way it plays with the form.
I mean, also part of it is that there's a lot of shade thrown at like the shitty commenters too, like the people who.
Oh, early on.
It's so good.
Definitely.
Clapbacks though. Yeah, man.
Like there's an early one that's just Nancy standing in the middle of 3 panels and just getting clouded, like getting crushed by word balloons about people talking about Nancy.
Hell yeah. Man, I guess like it's kind of topical for webcomics, and I don't know where the hell else it would come up. It's still good. I still really enjoy reading it, but I was like overthinking questionable content the other day, which obviously is never good. No. The professions in that comic kind of infuriate me when I think about it. Like, dude,
the professions?
Dude making a living working at a library. Could happen, but a little frustrating for obvious reasons. One person opens established, sure, but when we meet Dora, she already has a successful coffee shop, so whatever. Other character starts business, currently successful. We now have 2 characters that are successful, one of them apparently enough to like make a shitload of money by streaming. Like, this friend group is crazy. It's ridiculous. Like, just I mean, it doesn't matter at all, and it's not meant to hone in on, but I just had that thought the other day. Like, it's kind of it's like it's a lot for one group of friends.
Sure. I mean, Faye and Bubbles are just starting a struggling business.
They don't seem like they're struggling though, or we haven't been shown it. That's why I said like currently successful, because like I assume that would be if that's not a plot point soon-ish, I'd be a little surprised because they've alluded to it. But yeah, I
don't know. That world is like a weird vision of the world he wishes exists. Like, it's a better version of the world. It's not like the real world.
Yeah, it's true. So. I suppose that AI influence also. Yeah,
and also I'm not out here to think about questionable content. I'm here to show up every day.
Yeah. No, that's why it's not a good idea, but it just happens.
And it's also not good to look back. Just look forward always.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. I used to just like sometimes I would click random and just like see what plot point it stuck me in, because some of them, I just forget at this point. But honestly,
I mean, I used to like jump back by 100 at a time and just see the art deteriorate at a rate that was frankly shocking.
It's crazy. You click random and you get into like the first 1,000 and you're like, what the fuck?
You're like, how did I read this?
Yeah, dude. Or like you go back and you're like, I remember when I thought this was a massive step up. Like this was amazing quality. And now it's shit.
Yeah.
Have you done that? Have you done that recently? Like, if you go back by a couple hundred or like maybe 1,000? Right
the last time I did it, it wasn't as stark as it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for a period there, it was very rapid, but I think he's established his style enough now that it is not not going to change too much, probably, which is kind of sad. But yeah.
I don't know. I've also had that feeling with like going back with looking at like the early Dumbing of Age and like how much better his art has also gotten.
Oh, I haven't
kind of.
I haven't looked at that, and or I haven't.
Just
I
like
don't think I've ever
comparison.
gone back. Let's go to the first. Oh shit.
Yeah.
That is. I guess I
That's
didn't
noticeable.
realize. Yeah, it's very noticeable. I don't think I've ever gone back to it. Dumbing of Age is the one that I have to like remind myself to check because their RSS feed is broken. So
Oh.
I know it updates every day, but it only tells me like
It
once every
updates
two.
literally every day.
Yeah,
Doesn't
yeah.
even take weekend breaks.
But the feed updates like once a month with like 30 updates.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I once in a while I get a
those
huge batch.
questionable content and dumbing of age, those are just the two that I just click every day.
Yeah.
So
I'm on. Yeah, I only got. Yeah, those two, and then Gunner Craig Court is 3 times a week. There's another one. There's another one that's like, I think it has so much potential, but it's like not very well known. It's called Sedna, and it's like a little 8-year-old girl wants to be an astronomer. And it's like the art is very good. I mean, it's kind of Kelvin and Hobbes-ish, but like a more space stuff. It's super solid, but right now it's a there hasn't been like arcs or anything, and it updates maybe like once or twice a week because like the person is not at all. I mean, they're getting like a little bit of cash from it. They have a Patreon, but it's not like they're doing it, you know.
mm-hmm.
So I'm hopeful. It's nice to check in on, but yeah. I guess my only last two things, I've been keeping up with Star Wars Bad Batch, which is the essentially Clone Wars season 8. It's you could go in without seeing Clone Wars, but like I guess you would already have attachment to these characters if you saw Clone Wars. It's fine. It's interesting. It does it's showing
When does
like
it take place? Is it literally at
the first episode starts with Order 66.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And the Bad Batch are clones who are like a little bit enhanced. They have mutations that the Kaminoans like kind of pressed a little during their growth. So
weird.
like one of them has like not super, but like incredible strength. One of them is like very good at tracking and his senses are heightened. One of them is a shooter. One of them is a technician. So you have like your whole little band. And the idea is that they're, as a part of this, like, I guess like addition, these enhancements, this nudge towards them, like their inhibitor chips are not like fully functioning. So Order 66 is happening and they're kind of like, what the fuck? So it kind of deals with a little bit of that, but the juice really is seeing how the Empire kind of transitioning from clones to soldiers and like that side of things. So it's been cool for some of that. The third episode got pretty grim in a way that I don't think mainline Clone Wars ever really did. It had some shit going on. So I'm just curious to see like mostly the transition from like clones to normal soldiers and where that ends up. So exploring fun new place. It's nothing crazy. Like if you want like a really good Star Wars thing, it's not that, but it's
sure.
Cool. Yeah. There might be like a Force sensitive clone, possibly. There's like a clone whose name is Omega, and it's like this little girl, and she's like demonstrated some abilities that the other enhanced clones have. So people are thinking it's Force sensitive is going to be a thing, but who knows? So yeah, that, and then Love, Death, Robots Volume 2 came out, and there are 8 episodes instead of 16, and they are super mediocre. Kind of sad.
Great.
I fucking loved Volume 1. I mean, obviously, out of 16 of them, and they're all different, like, you had hit and miss a little bit, but really varied animation styles, a lot of varied stories, some really good ideas, like a mix of really dark and really scary, like fucked up, and then like kind of silly. Here it's just the second one, it felt really boring. Like they weren't pushing the bill as much as they could have, and they just weren't like, I think someone said like 5 out of the 8 used like trying to kind of a realistic animation style, and it's boring, you know? So a little, not even a little, like kind of fairly disappointing for me. Though there are some moments. There's like, I think there's only like one I can point to that I really liked out of the 8, and then there's like,
that's kind of always the risk with the anthology series, right?
Yeah. I think that like, I haven't watched too many of them. I know Halo had one that I never checked out. I watched the Matrix one, which is like my introduction to this idea and like short stories like this in general. But I've never had such a bad ratio.
Yeah.
So that's depressing. And I think
my favorite part of the Animatrix is the episode of Kids Next Door that just copied off one of the Animatrix stories.
Hell yeah.
Or 2 of them, because it was doing the historical one.
Okay.
Yeah. It just did that, but with kids and adults.
Great.
Instead of robots and people.
That's so good.
That shit is fire. It's really funny.
Yeah. So I mean, not too much to say about it. I'm not gonna review each story, but like, it's a not great follow up.
And
they are still. I guess I didn't look explicitly. I know in the first volume, I think all or nearly all of the 16 stories were like based on like actual sci-fi stories or novels. By like well-regarded authors. I think that's the same for this. Maybe not as much. I don't know.
Maybe they blew all the good stories. They more good sci-fi stories.
Yeah, blew their load in one in the first round.
I mean, that's pretty standard for TV, right?
I guess.
You don't know if you're gonna get when you don't know if you're gonna get a second season.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. And I guess with this, it's not even like I mean, 16 for an anthology like this, like 16 was kind of a lot in hindsight.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it's a cool thing. I hope there's more of it, or it's like, it's definitely is medium, a format maybe. It's something I would like to see more of. Like, I do enjoy them. And Netflix has been adding, like, there's so many short films that I would watch on YouTube, and Netflix has some of them now. Like, there was, what was it, the Interdimensional Laundromat or Cosmic Laundromat or something? It's like a 12-minute short film. Like, I saw that fucking 10 years ago or something on YouTube. So it's weird. Yeah, I still like that stuff.
It's been on YouTube for years, but now it's on Netflix.
Yeah. I mean, well, if I watched it 10 years ago, I certainly didn't have the bandwidth to watch anything over like 360p, so.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. I don't know. Because I generally respond more to characters, like long form stories or stories that have enough room to develop characters.
Yeah.
Resonate more with me than even like a really good short story, which, like, there can be exceptions, but it has to be really fucking good.
Yeah.
It has to be Super Frog Saves Tokyo. And also, but that's kind of cheating because that's related to an anime I like also.
Ha. Played yourself.
Well, it's like referenced in the anime.
Yeah, there's, I guess in from the first volume, there's maybe like 3, maybe 4 that I come back to. There's one that Zima Blue is the name for anybody who has watched it. I come back to that one a lot from the first collection. That's it just hits.
Sure.
Solid stuff. Yeah. That's my pile of salt. It was pretty chunky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's an episode then. Email us saltcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Find us at saltcirclepod on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Comic Panels, and our episodes are hosted at anchor.fm/saltcircle. And Ben doesn't exist. He's a figment of my imagination.
Yeah, you're a well-to-do billionaire, and I'm your evil Batman counterpart.